Hello. I accidentally just went live. Um, Not accidentally. I accidentally pressed enter because I'm typing out for the thing. So anyway, good morning, everybody. I was trying not to be late, but also whatever. Happy Sunday. How y'all doing? Shane Lalone, Trail Dust, Ben Toombs, Jeff Killian, and the other lurkers rolling in the chat. Uh, what is up? What is up? Let me finish typing this real quick, and we will get started. Okay, so you want to be a blacksmith, and this whole episode is directed directly to Ben Toombs. Anyway, welcome to the show. As you all know, we discussed last week the plans for this upcoming year, and we are doing sort of a back to basics, putting some content out there for those who are going to be getting into blacksmith for the first time. Excuse me. So we will be discussing this month forges and stuff that you can build, from things that you may have laying around, and or things that are simple and easy to acquire. So that's the most simplest stuff. Anyway, before we get into that, well, how was your week? Obviously, Alexis, you're there lounging on some sort of soft plush bed.
How's the Discord coming across? Is it what?
A noticeable difference from when you're at your studio, but still, we can hear you and see you.
Well, let
Grainy
me
like
switch
some rice.
to 5G.
But yeah. Would you freeze up?
Right.
We can see.
How about now? Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it works.
All right. Yeah, just switched off of the Wi-Fi to 5G. Anyways, yeah, my my week has been pretty good. I mean, the weather was nice. Worked 62 hours in 3 days, and then when was it? I guess Friday afternoon we headed over here to Austin. And yeah, that's the gist of it. I'm in town in Austin for the Astro Awards, which is kind of like I guess you could say it's the Grammys for people in space exploration. Usually you see an award show and it's some actor that's getting an award because they did their job, and well, they don't really change the world, but aeronautical engineers and whatnot, they do change the world. And so this weekend they're getting awards. Various people from like Firefly Aerospace, SpaceX, Rocket Labs. Um, we got down here. We've got Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. He's the one that is putting on the event, which is, I mean, it's his idea and all that. And then Scott Manley is the master of ceremonies, and then he DJ'd the pre-show party last night, and then Tim came on and played his music afterwards. I got to say, Tim was a pretty darn good DJ. That was a lot of fun. And now I am kicking it here. As soon as I get done with this show, I'm going to start getting ready for the award show / gala, whatever you want to call it, this afternoon. It's like 3 to 5, and then we've got an after party from 6 to 11. So it's going to be fun because yesterday the weather was amazing. We went out to we walked down to the Vulcan Gas Company, which was the venue for the party last night. We walked down there from the hotel, probably about a half a mile, and it was 62, 64 degrees when we walked the Vulcan, and when we walked out 4 hours later, it was like 40 degrees, and the wind was blowing really hard, and that half mile walk really sucked. It really did. But we made it, you know. And today, now it's in the 20s, and the Paramount Theater, which is where we're going today, is probably about twice to three times as far. So I'm thinking we're going to get it over because it's a little chilly out there. 21, 22, 26 degrees. That's what it was when I checked.
Yeah.
Uh,
Makes me glad I live where I'm at. You know, if we're talking about weather, it's 37 degrees here, and I consider that cold. But it's just nice enough to where I can crack the window and get some fresh air coming in here, you know. But yeah, bundle up at those temperatures. That's, bone chilling.
oh, yeah, bundle up, bitch, please. You ought to see the outfit I've got to wear for this. Oh, okay, I don't have to, but I chose to
Yeah,
be pretty on point. There's not much to this outfit, so there's no. Hopefully, my long overcoat's good enough to stop the wind. But
yeah.
I'm just like, you know, when I knew the weather was coming in, but I thought it wasn't going to come in until like late tonight, like overnight tonight, when I picked out all of my outfits and everything for the weekend. So it
I'd
doesn't
have
matter. It is what it is.
I'd have gone wearing a spacesuit, but that's just me.
No, that's Tim's outfit.
Yeah. Um. The chat's filling up. What's up, Thomas Goodamoot, Rob Hoof, Eric, and Speargrass, and John Burnell, and Jack Pines, and yeah, so we're filling up. Um, and we lost Alexis. Alrighty. So to me, I guess. um, yep, lost you there for a second. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I had to exit and come back in because of that whatever that Discord glitch is that just shuts my headphones off.
yeah. But yeah, as for my week, we had, it's like work is picking up. I had a decent amount of hours this week, and going over the workload for the next few weeks, we've got some big jobs that are going to take a lot of time and frustration. um, my crypto stuff is going good. We're had a bunch of meetings over the past few days, and about to get going. I got my contract developer paid up some stuff, and just waiting to cross some T's and dot some I's, and then we'll send some stuff out into the ether, so to speak. And yeah, beyond that, I did get into the shop this week, and I did actually make and build something, a air conditioner bracket. Yeah, yeah. Everybody goes, really? Amas was in the shop. No, I needed to build a air conditioner bracket for a in wall or out window air conditioner that we have, and the way it's been, I'm tearing out that porch that it's by, and the way it's been is sitting on a being supported by a 4x4 post that goes down onto the deck, and well, I'm removing the deck, so I got to remove that post. So I built a simple bracket uh, to mount the air conditioner and support it from the outside, and then hooked the deck up to my truck and tossed it in four wheel and had a bit of fun. And then I had to bust out the chainsaw and cut it all up into little pieces so we can toss it in the burn pile. Um, but yeah, so that was kind of my week. And yeah, so
You got a
with
65 with four wheel drive and smoky on your tail.
oh yeah, for about a week I said because I had my truck backed up. I figured, all this wood, drive it over to the burn pile, and then it's like filled the truck with all the scrap wood from the deck, and there it sat. And I'm like, okay, so I can't drive this thing down the road with all these, this pile of boards hanging off the back. So it's like it sat, and it's like I, used the work truck for things that I needed to do, and then it's like, all right, I really needed to use my truck, so I'm like, all right, let me grab a chainsaw, and I just, avoided nails and just right off the tailgate, just zing, 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 for about an hour cutting all this wood up. I've got a pile of charcoal, um, about the size of a small car. uh, well, well, okay, it's not as tall as a small car, but like footprint of a small car. That's about our burn pile. Anytime I need some charcoal, I can just go out there with a shovel, you know. Which brings us to the topic of the day. Um, First fire, the first forge. So you want to be a blacksmith, and we're not going to just talk about the um, like the math and science and blah 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 of like, okay, like this works, and here's how you build it. Okay, go have fun. You know, it's like I also kind of want to talk about a little bit of the mindset, the current mindset of a new smith. Um, a few years back, Roy had done a Roy rant about uh, the Forged in Fire rekindling of the blacksmith interest, and how, you know, it seemed to be having this blacksmith renaissance going on, and that bubble would pop, and then, you know, the Forged in Fire fans would sort of kind of uh, you would be getting less and less people jumping into the craft, but the people who do are doing it because, hey, I want to try blacksmithing, not because I saw this cool show and I want to, you know, make a bunch of knives, you know, which either way is fine. But uh, this is kind of a retouch on that, you know, and on building and getting started. Uh, you know, if you guys remember back to when you first got started, um, at least me, you know, obviously I can only speak to my own experiences, but like, at least me, it's, I had no idea. I actually didn't even know what Forged in Fire was when I got started. Um, y'all know the story. I was doing some yard cleanup, and got the bright idea to make an incinerator for all the yard waste, and took a took a pipe and added a vacuum blower to it to like aerate. I basically just made an incinerator, throwing things in there, and a bit of metal got in there. It got hot, red hot, and I pulled it out, and I'm like, huh, and I hit it, and so I'm like, blacksmithing, yeah. And then I built a forge, and the yard still remains messy, but
Yeah, it does.
yeah,
No,
I
I
got.
can't testify to that. You know, I've been there a few times, and it just doesn't change. It's the Yama's yard is timeless.
Yeah, well, it's like the ancient forest if you play video games, you know, or the Forgotten Woods, or what is it? What is it from the Tolkien, from Lord of the Rings, the Dark Woods or the Black Forest or whatever. You get out there and you get lost. Hey, Mr. Coffee. Um, but yeah. So I mean, like, I had no idea when I first started that A, other blacksmiths existed, or B, like, you know, my thought was, well, cavemen did it. I can sure figure it out. Yeah, I was a bit wrong. A lot of my first initial, you know, ideas were like, I look back now and I'm like, why did I go through so much effort? Why did I waste so much time? You know, like, I think my very first forge, I cut a I cut a 55 gallon drum, you know, barrel, metal barrel in half long ways. Okay, put a board in it, and or put a pipe in it with holes that I drilled into it, and then covered that with rocks and forged on top of that. And it's like,
Dude,
yeah,
you want to hear about an epic fail first forges? So when I started, I same thing. I didn't have any idea Forged in Fire even existed. I'm sure it did because I'm sure it was around before 2018. But I had no knowledge of it. Anyways, what it was, I saw an Alex Steele video and I was like, wait, people can do that? Hold on. And so I went down and I bought, the obligatory Harbor Freight anvil, and of course, I mean, I had hammers and stuff, but my hammer that wasn't a claw hammer was that 3 pound East Wing,
engineering hammer.
hammer. Yeah, exactly. And then I went down to Acme Brick and I bought like 10 fire bricks, I mean, because they're like a buck a piece. And then I went home and I stacked the bricks around each other, and I have a weed burner. And I put the weed burner in my full 20-pound can of propane. And now this is, weed burners don't run with they don't, there's no regulator. It's just wide open off the bottle. And then I built like this little tunnel around stuck the weed burner in one end, and then I built this little tunnel, and I was sticking metal inside the fire bricks there, and and then I don't know what it was, like maybe a little piece of round stock or something like that. And I was beating it flat on that little Harbor Freight anvil. Like I burned up that entire 20-pound can of propane in like an hour and a half. And I was like, huh, I can't believe I'm out of gas already. Like, if that's going to be the case, it's like, that was a $25 can of gas. If it's going to go like that, I'm out, you know? And,
Right.
a little bit of research later, and I'm just like, okay, let me give this one more shot. And then I went and I bought the Hell's Forge, single burner Hell's Forge off eBay for like $80 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, and I still have that forge, and I still use that forge. And, I mean,
Yeah.
arguably the best $80 I spent in blacksmithing.
Well, you bring up a really good point. Like, a lot of people get started with what they think will work, and then they have this preconceived notion of it, and then they're like, well, this is crazy, and then they either quit or don't look into it enough, or whatever, and they waste a whole bunch of time, money, resources, and then don't really get into the meat and potatoes of blacksmithing. And uh yeah, it's like that very first fire of inefficiency and struggling, and realization that, wow, this is a lot more intense than I thought it was going to be, you know is super important. It's like a rite of passage for everybody, and if you can get through that, and learn, hey, I can do this more efficient, there's a better way to do this, and then you start your learning process. Um and a lot of people skip past the most simplest. They'll start with the, like, oh, I've got a campfire, I've got a leaf blower, I've got a pair of channel locks, and it's like, let's go. And they'll sit there and toss the leaf blower on the forge, no air control, or on the fire, and no air control, and yeah, you can heat metal up like that. Um, and because that is a legitimate side blast forge built on the ground. You all you have to do is learn air control and heat control, putting up like brick backer or whatever, and blow the air right onto the side of the fire, and you've got a forge. you know um and most people take that, and they'll tinker around a little bit to see if they like it, because it's like zero cost. It's zero cost for trying it. And like you said, it's like you were like, well, this is going to be if this is going to be this inefficient, why should I do this? Well, it gets you started to figure out what questions to ask to learn better.
Right. And had I known about like forging back in the day, I built an ore furnace up in Wyoming. That was I took a piece of pipe, and I put a little bit of curve on it, 1 inch pipe, and I stuck it in the bottom of a 55-gallon drum, and then I poked holes all around the outside of the 55-gallon drum, and then I cut the lid out of it, and then the lid I kind of turned the edges up, and then stick the drum full of at the time it was Apatong, because we'd redecked one of our trailers, and the trailer decking is Apatong. And so I had all this tore up Apatong, and I just stuffed that all down in the barrel, uh, put the lid on it on top, and then I put all my ore on top of that lid, hook the shot back up backwards to the bottom of it, lit that sucker on fire, and I mean, like, I tell you what, it was like a jet engine roaring. I mean, this thing just like smoke rolling off, and then as soon as it lit, I mean, it's like flame coming out of it. I mean, like it even looked like it had mock diamonds. I mean, there's this blue flame coming out of the top of this barrel, like 10 feet up in the air. And before that blue flame came, I had a pot of this massive smoke cloud that was stretching out for about a mile. And anyways, that's how I roasted my ore to evaporate the tellurium and get the gold out of it. And you could only run it maybe 2 or 3 times, and then the barrel, from the heat, the barrel would just collapse.
Right.
The barrel would get so hot it would collapse under its own weight. And but it never really occurred to me that, hey, I could like heat up metal in this thing. I mean, because there are holes like this big around all around it at various heights. That way the it can. I don't know. It seemed like a good idea when I built it, but I could have just totally stuck something in there, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, I could have melted it because that sucker got hot, and
Yeah.
it just never occurred to me that I could, even though I was melting the furnace, it never occurred to me that I could melt steel in it, or even heat up steel to forge it.
Right. Right. Well, it's like that's what was happening with mine. It was using a burn barrel. You were essentially using a burn barrel. You know,
Yes.
and
Only the purpose of it wasn't to burn stuff. The purpose of it was to to roast ore. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
still it's a barrel with holes in it. It's a burn barrel.
yeah. Fair point. Fair point. Yeah, man.
you know, um, but yeah, some people like Speargrass brought up. He was lucky enough to have a smith introduce him, and Mr. Coffee brought up that he's name dropping Senor Steele, Alex Steele, and how he helped him build his first gas forge and all that stuff. So it's like, it really is luck in the draw. Like when you enter into a hobby without realizing that there are already other people that are doing it, um, especially something like this where you think like, oh, nobody does this anymore. Like, oh, I've got to be you know, a trailblazer. I'm going to reinvent the wheel, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, if they did this back in the ancient days, I could obviously do it better. And then you find out that you're so wrong that there are a ton of people, and with that becomes a ton of resources to help you on your journey. But some people are lucky and they either grow up with it or they know somebody who does it that can get them introduced to it. And you know but I think that the majority of people don't. The majority of people right now who would, in the future may start, may not realize that it's still a thing, you know. And so with that, it's like you got, like I said, the campfire forge, which an obvious upgrade to that would be to take some, bricks and build a little air catch, so to speak, so that you can control some air and blow it in there and have a controlled fire. Um, and then the step up from that would be to do a hole in the ground forge where you dig a pit and bury a pipe into the side of it, and you have your charcoal, your coal, uh, or just wood. I mean, wood works, and have it be in the ground. And like I have a video in my first fire series for uh, a hole in the ground forge, and the whole purpose of that in this is to say, hey, with stuff that you may already have laying around in the shop or in the garage or around the house, a hair dryer, a bit of pipe, um, an old sledgehammer or a broken sledgehammer or a chunk of metal that you can use as an anvil, channel locks for tongs, you know, you can get started. And, like I keep saying, it's hard to learn when you don't know what to ask. You have to learn the right questions. And sometimes the best way to learn is to get started so that you kind of like, how do you, like, how would somebody who's never tried it know how to ask how to control the fire? Because if you've never tried it, you might not know that's even an issue, you know? It's like,
The first thing you have to know is what questions to ask.
exactly. I'm going the long way to get to that, you know? um, but yeah, so it's Robert Lonis. My first coal forge was a boiler door turned like a bowl and filled with Tractor Supply anthracite. The Tractor Supply around me doesn't have coal, much
Yeah,
to my
mine either.
dismay. Yeah, much to my dismay. Everybody on the forums of iForge Iron are completely. I'm not going to insult anybody. Um, but like everybody, and it's like, hey, where do I find coal? And they're like, oh, you just got to go to your local Tractor Supply or your local Harbor Freight, and it's like, no, they don't have it. You know, like they don't carry it around here. Well, all of them do. Well, not around here, And it's like, well, no, you're just not looking hard enough. And it's like, I'm like, I talked to the manager, they won't even order it for me, like. So the first coal that I was buying off of eBay. I was paying $50 a bag of coal, $1 a pound. It and shipping. But yeah, I mean, it's like that's the thing. When you first start, you don't have these resources. You don't have people who I got some coal, I'll send it to you, just pay shipping. I got 3 tons in the backyard. You don't have those connections yet. So like, when discussing this, you got to put your mindset to those who have never done it before, you know, who don't know people who have done it and have no clue. Like I've wasted so much money in trying to get started. I mean, I even for $120 uh invested in one of those paint can forges off of eBay, where it's basically a paint can with a hole in it and some insulation in it, and they say, oh, all you got to do is put a map gas torch in there and light it, and you'll be forging. That thing could not get any metal past a dull orange. Like
You bought one of those? You didn't make one, you bought one?
I bought one because I didn't, it's like I suck at plumbing and I suck at, gas, and plumbing gas scares me. So yeah, I bought one,
Right.
you know, and I still have it, and it's the most useless thing in the world, you know. Yeah, and that's the thing, Rob. Them volcano forges now, them Amazon Mr. Volcano, or what is it, the ones that when they first came out a few years ago, and then Roy picked them up and started giving them away for the year of the forge. Those things first hit the market at $75 a piece for a one burner stainless steel forge, and I think it was the Mr. Volcano, but I might be wrong in the name. Um, and then they had a two burner version for like under $200, and it was like, wow. When I first started and I was looking for propane forges and stuff like that, like the average price was around $500 or $600, and I'm like, I don't have that. That's not an option for me. So it's like I found the cheapest one I found was $110 paint can. You just got to add your own gas or add your own burner and stuff. And it came with a little burner tip that was modified to work with it. And it's like use campfire propane or map gas. And it said, cheap forge. Yeah. But Bob Huff, yeah. No, I do like anthracite. I like anthracite over coke, if I'm being honest. You know, it's like, um, but yeah, um, again,
Oh
like,
yeah, it is a little bit.
huh?
Say it is a little bit brisk out here.
Oh yeah, I
I
can
can
tell.
definitely, I can definitely tell it's about 25 degrees. I'm going back inside. Screw this.
Yeah,
Like look, even the rose bushes are like, huh, screw this.
yeah. Heritage Acres asks, what size are you guys using? I've been told to use pea size and nut size, but I don't know which is better. I will be 100% honest. In my experience, um, on the size of the it really kind of depends on your tweer setup. Like, I mean, I have kind of relatively large holes, which I know I should change, in my tweer. Um, but once you get started in it, like the size that I use right now, each piece is roughly the size of my thumb. Okay. Um, and I have used peak hole where it's like each piece is roughly the size of my pinky nail. Um, and I've also used chunk coal where each piece is the size of my fist. From experience, okay, once you get it burning and it's like and it's starting to go through the coke and breeze process, you break that up and it shapes the way you want it. You know, it's like so once it's going, in my experience, it's like you can kind of you have those chunks next to it and need some, pull it in and tap it with your tongs or with your fire tool, your fire rake, and it breaks up into pieces. You know, um,
And see,
it,
and I was going to say, like I've had, you know, the same kind of thing. I've actually found the smaller coal to be more problematic.
yeah, same here.
Because like we get those when we were getting those bags of coal from Hans, I mean, there's stuff in there that's like this size, and they just rake right up into the side of the fire and they coke up and they burn just like everything else. But I found that the smaller it is, the harder it is to work with. For just in my experience, because it just doesn't hold together as well. It doesn't. To me, it just seems to like fall in and burn up. You know what I mean? So I've always
Yeah,
preferred the like I don't know, maybe golf ball size and bigger, has really worked well for me. Because like I said, the bags of coal we have are everything from about fist size down to dust, and it's just a fairly even mix of everything in between. And so I've just found that bigger is better. Although I do know that when I lived in New Mexico, you could take a pickup truck to the mine, and you could get a pickup truck load, the whole bed of your truck filled with coal for $50. And but it was like they were like this, they were
yeah.
like basketball sized chunks of coal. So
It's the
that
kind
would
where
probably not be
that's the kind where if I had one of those or a few chunks of those, like big chunks of coal, I would take and I would drill a couple holes into it and then light that hole on fire and forge out of that.
right. And it was actually a really good grade bituminous too. My neighbor, when I lived in Farmington, New Mexico, he worked at the coal mine, and he'd bring us home little pieces or whatever, every now and then for just like decoration. So like for a while, I had a really nice piece of coal that was like clear coated, and it sat in my collection of rocks. Anyway, here nor there. That was really good coal, but like I said, I mean, what are you going to do with a basketball sized chunk? You're going to hit it with a hammer, break it up into smaller bits. But
I'd have fun with it. I would have tried chisel carving it. You know, take a big ass chunk of coal and chisel carve it and be like, I made a blacksmith.
well, what I did with it was I actually wanted to compare how hot it got to say like corn, and I had a chimney out in front of my house, and we'd sit around the chimney and light a fire in it. I had a bunch of corn out of my garden that had gone like seed. It had dried out, and it really didn't have any use for it. Well, it was Indian corn to begin with, so it was all decorative. And it was time to get rid of it. There's no point in keeping Indian corn forever. And so I was throwing it in the forge, and just burning it, whatever, not the forge, the chimney. And I had this chunk of coal that was about like that Benny gave me, and I threw that in the forge. And whew, boy, let me tell you, there was a big difference between those all that strawberry corn and what that chunk of coal did.
Yeah. No, I'd honestly, I'd love to try corn. And we're getting way ahead of ourselves because fuels is another series. But yeah, like okay, so and that's a testament to like I'm trying really really hard not to go into a specific topics of different forges that we're going to touch on next week and the week after. But it's
This
um
is this is
obviously
this is an
you can't
overview.
yeah, obviously you can't talk forges without talking forge fuels. So it's like erg. Um, but like what to burn, like charcoal. It's like simple. Either make your own by starting with wood and it'll go into charcoal and you burn that, boom, 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 or going and literally buying charcoal briquettes or charcoal whatever. It's like, yeah, you'll find what's efficient, what's not efficient, what's expensive, what's not expensive, what's a pain in the butt, what's not a pain in the butt. But if it burns, like there's an old joke out there about around Christmas time, and you see it pop up every Christmas, like a note from Santa to blacksmiths says, you blacksmiths need to stop being naughty because you're sucking up my coal supply. I would put reindeer shit in your stockings, but you blacksmiths will burn anything. And it's true. Like if it's got a carbon content, it'll burn, and if it'll burn, blacksmiths can use it. You know,
That's right.
you know, like last year we had discussed diamond and what the melting or the burning and melting point and whatnot of diamond is, and it's like diamond is pure carbon. Technically, you could light diamonds on fire and use those to forge something. The stuff that you'd need to do that would be insane, but it's not out of the physical realm of possibilities.
Oh boy, that just the thought of forging with a pile of diamonds, you know.
I remember that episode we were talking carbon, and then it turned into be one of our better episodes we've ever had.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. And that was the episode on carbon, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
And so
just
you
like you
want to
make a
talk
railroad
carbon?
spike knife, and then you make a spike knife, and then you got to sell it for $2.5 million.
Yeah. This knife was forged with diamonds. What, like it's got diamonds in it? No, I burned diamonds to make this knife. Talk about burnt liquidity.
Forged in pure carbon fire.
Yeah. But I'd like to do the math one day, or have somebody do the math one day on how hot a diamond fire would be.
It'd be the same as a coal fire. It's literally the same thing, just with no impurities.
Oh, so it's better than okay. Now we're talking fuels, and everybody's like arguing between anthracite, bituminous, and coke. All right, we raise you diamond. I bet diamond has less impurities than coke. Do we use pea size or do we use fist size? Hope diamond. I wonder how many BTUs I can get out the Hope diamond. Eh, we digress. We always digress.
Or regress.
Yes. But yeah, so uh I kind of, you know, to any blacksmiths that are out there, I kind of toss a sort of challenge to you too. It's like, let people in the area know that what you do if they don't already. Like, so that if there's somebody in your area that would like to get started, they at least have that ready resource. You know, it's like you see somebody with a leaf blower. If you're driving down the road and you see somebody at a camp, at a bonfire or whatever with a leaf blower, and then hitting on something, sitting on a log or whatever, stop and say, hey, want to learn how to
Oh,
do that, better?
that reminds me. Yesterday, we were walking around Austin, and I mean, I walked down to the flagship Whole Foods down. I mean, no, it's like 2 miles away from here, but we walked down there. And of course, I'm an idiot, and I wore heel boots, and so my legs hurt the whole day yesterday. But here or there, on our way back, we came back via Fifth Street, I believe. Yeah, we came back on Fifth Street instead of Sixth, and there was a farmers market going on. We didn't know it was a farmers market, whatever. So at Republic Park, and we started walking around. Well, the first thing I noticed is a blacksmith up in one corner, and he's got like a little display case with his knives, and he's got an anvil out there and whatever, and he's just like rearranging stuff and all that. I assumed they were setting up, and I was like, oh hey, let's walk around this thing and we'll swing that by. after they're done setting up, and I'll have a chat with this guy, and then we get to the other end of it. The River Park Farmers Market every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m., and it's like 1:30 p.m. And I was like, oh, they're not setting up; they're tearing down. Damn it.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, yeah, so it was a totally missed opportunity.
that always happens with me when I was doing the flea markets. Like, it's like everybody knows when the flea market opens and closes. Yet, it's without a doubt. And by when I go to start tearing down and bringing stuff to my truck, everybody assumes that I'm getting started. What you making today? I already done made it. You know, it's like, oh, can you make me this real quick? No, forge is cold. It's like I'm already loading up. I mean, a little bit of spatial awareness of seeing instead of from truck to stand, from stand to truck is obvious in what we're doing.
Grab one more cup of coffee, head back upstairs.
But yeah, it's it's important to remember when, where, and why you started, because the kid across the street could want to get started, and it may not be right now, and it may not be tomorrow, but someday that kid may wander over and want to learn something. And as long as you're there willing to teach, you know, we can spread this craft. That's a lot of sugar,
Uh,
you
Four
know.
packets, that's
And
not that many.
like I said, if you see somebody playing around in their backyard, that just it's nice. I mean, depending on the area, some places you don't just want to like pull over on the side of the road and walk up to somebody playing with fire, because I mean that could be, what you doing. All right. Um. Oh, you're down in the common area, right?
Yeah, I'm down here getting what do you call it, the breakfast nook area.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna see. I
And
hear everybody talking, and I was gonna say, tell
yeah,
Ryan to shut up.
yeah, it's a little loud in here. I'm working on it. I'm trying.
No, it's all good.
I should have hit the mute button, but
But but
uh,
yeah. Um. So I mean, again, without I think we did a good job not going into the next step of a forge, which is what Speargrass requested we specifically don't do, because Speargrass wants to talk about the next level, um, specifically because he's got a lot of information on it. Um, so we knew that this was going to be a quick show, and I really wanted to touch on how simple it was to get started with, literally, any form of forced air, hair dryer, leaf blower, air compressor, even, you know, um, and kind of get you guys into that mindset of remember your first forge, remember when you first got started, and keeping in mind, hey, if you had somebody helping you, be that person helping the next, you know, uh, because you never know who it could be. Some little, you know, some little kid might turn out to be the next, Samuel Yellens. You know, might turn out to be the next Francis Whitaker. You know, might turn out to be the next Yamez. All the greats. I mean,
oh,
but yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about it. Do you have anything else you want to add there, Alexis?
no, not really. I mean, like
We knew this was going to
that's
be a shorter show.
yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I've got stuff to do. So,
Yeah.
um, first forges, I mean, honestly, I look on those first attempts at 40. Um, well, actually with fondness. You know what I mean? Because it's like I had this determination and this drive to, hey, let's do this. And in looking back, it was such a folly to, without even doing any research or because it never even occurred to me that, hey, I should do a bunch of looking into this. It's just like, let me light a fire. I mean, like I mean, as soon as I saw that video, I'm like, I just need to light a fire. That's all I need to do. I need to light a fire and I need to stick metal in it. And when it turns red, I'll hit it with a hammer. And then
Then you
turns
learn
out
that
there's a
red
lot
isn't
more
hot.
involved in it than that.
Yeah, it turns out red isn't hot enough.
Yeah. Red doesn't do crap.
It turns out that red hot is cold when using blacksmith terms.
That's right. Yeah. Who'd have thought red hot is cold steel?
Yeah.
Uh,
So, no, I will not be smithing tonight. Uh, I have to get with my marketing and my developer tonight. Uh, Sorry, but yeah, I mean, it's that kind of brings it to the end. I mean, even for our final thoughts, I kind of already had mine. You know,
yeah, me too. I mean, that's pretty much it.
yeah.
What about the chat? I mean, like, has the chat got any input beyond what we've already discussed? I mean, like, I see
The
John's talking about refusing to invite the kids across the street over to learn how to forge. I mean, are they that bad or what? I mean,
yeah. Mostly they're talking
uh,
about the weather and how good it is to see each other and ignoring
it's
us as
so
per
cold.
usual. No, I'm just
Yeah,
messing.
yeah, yeah. It's a conversation in the chat that has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, they are. They're Aswan is back. Uh yeah, you work part time to fund your
Yeah,
blacksmith
yeah,
hobby.
I see.
You do get to a point where it becomes less of a money suck. I will say that. You know.
Yeah,
Um if you and that's another thing, like, and here, Robert Whitney brings up, at our local guild we have classes for the beginner blacksmith. We have no problems filling 10 places twice a year. Right, that's 20 people a year. Okay, now think of how many, the percentage, like, does your blacksmith guild advertise? Mine doesn't. Like, I heard about, like, when I first got started, I heard about, oh, there's a group of guys up in Deep Creek that do that. And it's like, even an internet search of local blacksmith guilds didn't bring them up. Like, I had to ask around. It took me about a year to be able to find my guild, and it's like, okay. So again, it's like, it advertise, let people know what you do, even if they're not interested. Grab them by the collar and be like, I'm a blacksmith. If you have blacksmith questions, come to me. Wear a shirt that says, "Ask me about my blacksmithing." but yeah, so with that, I guess we can kind of call that a show. We look forward to the whole exactly the whole "I can't find a blacksmith in my area" thing. Yeah, if you're able to fix that, you know. Um Good for you,
yeah.
Ben. You know, it's like, I have so many orders I can't keep up. Well, maybe if you were a little bit taller, you'd be a baller, a shot caller, you know.
So you want to be a blacksmith, hacksmith. So you want to be a bad knifesmith.
Yeah. What was that? It takes two. There you go. Yeah, I know you got to get going to that, and I've got to get going and call my dev. But with that, guys, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys get out there and take what we said to heart, and find somebody who's learning, and be there, be their guide, you know. So anvil's on the ground and it's still too tall. Yeah, you could put a railway plate on the ground and it would still be too tall.
Oh
Anyway,
wow, I had that. Man, holy crap! My chat froze up a long time ago. I'm like, where are you reading all this?
yeah,
And I'm just like,
at the
I
bottom of
kept
the chat.
looking, I kept looking. Yeah, no, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, my apparently my chat froze 20 minutes ago, and I didn't notice. Well, I mean, I was downstairs, and my phone with the live stream on was up here in the room. But okay, makes sense now.
Yeah. But with that, we're in the world of technology, and we can use that technology to spread the word of blacksmithing. And uh, we will leave you with that. Please tune in next week. We're going to be having Adam here to talk about uh, more forge options. And I'm sure we'll digress the conversation more and frustrate him, and it'll be a good, fun show. So,
Yeah,
you all have a wonderful day, and much appreciation to all of you, to the co-hosts, to everything that makes everything that we do possible. So thank you all, and y'all have a good one.
see y'all next week.
Yep, see you next week.